Welcome everybody to Forza Horizon 5, and today we're taking a look at the 1962 Ferrari 250 GT Berlinetta Lusso. Now this was the last of the 250 series that had started in 1952, and this version was made between 1962 and 1964 with only 351 of them being made. And yeah, it's the same basis for the 250 California that we've already reviewed on this game. And yeah, this had disc brakes front and rear, a short 94-inch wheelbase, and polished aluminum wheels, or aluminium. And yeah, and there's no doubt that the California is a really rather striking car to look at, just inherently because of its convertible bodywork. But I still think this is an absolutely gorgeous looking car, and it's got really nice proportions, nice long bonnet, short rear end, fast pack rail styling going on as well. And yeah, despite the fact that it's not got a convertible roof, everything else about this car is an improvement over the California. The interior is a little bit more luxurious. It's yeah, definitely got a nice layout to it overall. You've got a rear parcel shelf that has yeah, plenty of room for whatever you want to put in it. But then you've also got a decent sized boot to go along with it as well, with a full spare wheel with the same aluminium wire wheel as well. And you've got 4 exhausts at the back, and yeah, I like the quad headlight setup. It's different to some other quad headlight kind of cars which are usually in a row. I like the staggered approach that they've got going with it. And yeah, a decent and tasteful amount of chrome going as well. But the heart of this car is the engine, which is the same 3-litre V12 engine as in the California, but it has 250 horsepower in this and 215 pounds-feet of torque. Now that is 12 horsepower less than in the California, but it is 27 pounds-feet of torque more, which is a decent amount extra. And this also weighs less at 66 pounds due to its chassis using narrower tubular chassis tubes, basically, which means it's 66 pounds lighter at 2,249 pounds, which is not very much at all for something that has 250 horsepower. And yeah, rear wheel drive, and yeah, not got the best gearbox in the world. It was slated at the time for having a bit too longer ratios on it, but it's a perfectly reasonable gearbox, and it certainly is able to propel this car at a decent rate of speed. So let's get out onto the open road and see what this car can do. So yeah, speaking of the gearbox, that is the weak part of this car, because it's only 4-speed, and like I said, it's got quite longer ratios on it. But everything else about this car is pretty great. So yeah, let's get down this drag strip, see how fast we can go before we hit the speed camera, and then we'll drive probably around the track. So yeah, let's get going. So as you can see, it's still a high revving engine as well, more than 7,000 RPM. And yeah, despite being 60 years old, this is no slouch. Nearly 116 miles an hour there, which is pretty good for something that's 60 years old. So yeah, I really do like this car. Now this recently got added to the game via the festival playlist, so you don't have much longer to get it. You only have to get 20 points, but yeah, it's well worth seeking out because it is a properly brilliant classic Ferrari. Now granted, it's not as quick to 60 as the California, purely because it has 12 less horsepower, but it's still able to do 0 to 60 in 6.742 seconds, and 0 to 114.074 seconds, and going to a top speed of 151 miles an hour, which is actually quicker than the California in terms of the top speed, and it's 0 to 100 time purely because it's got extra torque, which is yeah, eventually more beneficial at the top end. And yeah, it's also quicker at the top end in terms of speed as well by 2 miles an hour. So yeah, let's take a quick look at the stats. So yeah, we're high C class. And yeah, the handling and braking is definitely better on this car. Granted, it does have 5 years over the California, but it's still better in terms of handling and braking purely because it's got quite a shorter wheelbase. It's lighter, and yeah, those disc brakes all round, and the rather clever suspension for the time at the front is also helpful. Top speed is pretty good, and launch could be better, obviously, but it is quite an old car with quite an old gearbox as well, so I doubt that's much you can really deal with, to be honest. But yeah, still, even though it wasn't meant to be a racing car, it did compete in a couple of races, but they were mainly after its production run ended. But it's definitely a car that is a driver's car, and it was highly rated as a driver's car back in the day as well. Whereas the California, I feel, is more of a cruiser. Yes, it is more powerful, yes, it is quicker to 60, but that's the kind of car where you just enjoy the noise of the engine and you just enjoy the whole convertible aspect of that car. It's because it is convertible, it does somewhat make you relax in terms of driving it. Whereas with this, it just feels like it wants to be driven constantly at the limit and as fast as possible, quite frankly. So yeah, I'll let you listen to the engine first a bit, and then we'll talk about it some more. Yeah, as you can hear, it sounds absolutely glorious. Nice, naturally aspirated, 7,000 plus RPM with the rev limit. V12 is always going to sound glorious, and yeah, this is easily one of Ferrari's best engines. Obviously, it's not by any means their most powerful or most sophisticated, especially in comparison to nowadays, but yeah, it still sounds great and still does the business in terms of propelling this car as fast as possible. Because yeah, like I said, it is quicker to 100 and at the top end than the California. 151 miles an hour for a 60-year-old car is not bad at all. And yeah, at the end of the day, it is a fun and enjoyable car to drive, and a rewarding one as well at that, because obviously it's not got the most sophisticated suspension in terms of the rear end going on. Yeah, it's got double wishbones at the front, but the rear end is a live axle at the end of the day with these springs, so yeah, it's not the most sophisticated at the rear end, and it definitely shows when you try and sometimes get out of the corner, because it will try and oversteer. And obviously the suspension is also quite soft, so you do get quite a lot of body roll at times. But at the end of the day, it's still rewarding to drive, and it is fun. Made all the more so by the glorious sounding engine. And yeah, it's also something you can also enjoy just by looking at it as well as driving it. So yeah, this covers a lot of bases really. Reasonably practical for a car that is only a two-seater. Plenty quick enough for a car for today, never mind back in 1962. And yeah, it's also pretty much a work of art in a lot of ways as well, not just in terms of the way it sounds, but also the way it looks. So yeah, if you still haven't gotten this in the festival playlist, then I do highly recommend it. You only have to get 20 points, that's not much at all, and at the end of the day that is contributing towards getting the SF90 as well, also from Ferrari, which is the overall series first car you can get for 80 points. So yeah, get out there and get this glorious Ferrari, and yeah, appreciate it for not only the way that it looks, sounds, drives, but also for the fact that it helps cement Ferrari as not only a racing car company, but also a company that made luxurious road cars as well. Nonetheless, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.